Well, Brent Haight, welcome to the Gas Compression Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. For everyone out there, Brent is the founder, CEO, president, and chief bottle washer, janitor, all the above of Third Coast Publishing, which publishes the Gas Compression magazine, most relevant to us. Also published Norm Shade's book that I bought, and Norm was our first guest on the podcast. So very, very, very relevant and has a great bird's eye view of our industry. So typically we are having guests on here who work in a very specific area or position in the gas industry, but I feel like you have a much more broad view because you're publishing and golly, stories all over the world, people and all industries. So this gonna be a fun conversation, but it's going to start where I start with everyone is how in the world did you end up where you are in the gas compression world or the publishing world? How did all that get started?
Yeah, so I ended up in gas compression journalism, let's call it, completely by accident. I needed a job and a company was hiring and answered the ad, and I'm like, well, what the heck is gas compression? I don't know. And then one thing led to another, and 22 years later, here I am still covering it. Background in journalism, and just trying to cover news and information, and landed in the industrial sector. And honestly, I've never looked back. Loved it. It's great people, it's great technology, and this industry takes you to places in the world that you would never go for any reason at all. And if you have a sense of adventure and love travel and experience, it's a great industry for you, because I've been far and wide. And again, like my kids are like, you're going where? Where is that at? So completely by accident, I guess is the answer to your question.
I saw on LinkedIn, so you've lived in Tokyo, you lived in all of that because of this industry?
Yeah, I was born in Tokyo, military brat. So my dad was in the Air Force. So we moved around a whole lot. So with this job, with this industry, I've lived in Wisconsin, Texas, Louisiana. So those are the three states with following the oil and gas business where I've lived. So yeah. So
when you said you didn't get into gas compression, did you first start doing engine? What was the first thing you started as a journalist in?
So the very first thing that I started as a journalist in was City Business newspaper in New Orleans. So it is what it is. It's a weekly business newspaper. From there, got into a trade magazine for the railroad industry. And then from there, got into a trade magazine, a company that did at that time a whole bunch of magazines and publications for various industrial applications. And one of them was oil and gas. And so specifically compression. And so that's how I ended up into it. So
I think I saw it on LinkedIn about the gas compression magazine that the goal was to tell the stories and capture some of the knowledge before it gets forgotten and have some fun while doing it.
Yep.
Along those lines.
Yep. That's exactly right. So, we've been around, Third Coast Publishing Group has been around for 5 years. So this is our 5th anniversary. Like July issue was the first issue of Gas Compression Magazine. And when we started this company, we wanted to, our goal, our mission, if you will, was to catalog and document the information and technologies that are needed to make this industry happen before that information gets lost through retirement, consolidation, and change, right? So there's a whole lot of information exiting the marketplace, if you will, through retirement, right? Everybody knows these men and women who, like, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with this machine. Well, how? You didn't run diagnostics, you didn't run this and that. Because I've been doing this for 70 years. And that's like with Norm Shade, for example, right?
Yeah.
I've known Norm Shade 20 plus years, and he had been teaching a course for 20 plus years that I knew him, and had been encouraging him, like, let's document this. And so here we are, in 2020, 2021 is when things really, hit the ground running. We were able to publish his book, and you had him on the show and did he did part of his presentation that he does. And so yeah, so but then have fun in the process, right? Where, I mean, if you look at like my LinkedIn profile, I'm sitting there with a Puma, and, I mean, so we just try and have fun. If you look I encourage people to look at the masthead of the magazine to see what different titles we have, because it's like we have there, I'll make you look for it, but we have someone whose title is Evil Genius. So, and it fits what she does, so we certainly take it serious. We take the industry very seriously, and we take the news and events that are happening very seriously, but also it's like, you get one turn in this life. So let's have fun.
Well, good. I that's a lot of the reason that I'm doing this podcast, and I feel the same sentiment, and you do, and everyone else does. It's this trade and this industry is different than the other trades, the plumbers, the carpenters, the auto and diesel mechanics. It's like no one's worried about how are we going to replace these folks. It's like, well, we've got schools. I think what you just said about, how did you know what was going on with that engine or that compressor? Well, because I heard it, I listened to it. I know it's going on. It's like, oh man, those things are going away. And so this is a lot of the reason I'm doing this podcast. So
yeah,
give me the 50,000 foot view of where you sit on what's going on in the compression industry and where we are today.
Yep, perfect. So I would say, the gas compression industry, it's stronger than it's ever been, right? So there's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of change coming on the horizon, which I cannot emphasize enough is not a bad thing, right? So one of the things with this industry is change is a 4-letter word. We've always done it this way. This is how we've always done it. Whoa. We don't want to tip the cart here because we've always done it this way, right? So let's look at renewables. Let's look at ESG. Let's look at all these buzzwords right now that people, quite frankly, are panicking about. And it doesn't have to be this panic, because in its core, natural gas and gas compression is a clean energy solution that can really help what companies and governments and countries and nations are trying to accomplish in lowering their carbon footprint and, being better stewards of planet Earth. Mm-hmm. When I first started in this industry, LNG was very scary, and people were like, this is going to take our jobs. This technology, this moving forward is bad for gas compression. Well, now fast forward and look what happened. It's been a saving grace, if you will, because suddenly the US is sitting on just an incredible amount of natural gas, and countries are so in need of the supply of energy that you have projects in the US that are now reversing, right? So it used to be going to the East Coast and, going to these population hubs. Now it's like, how quickly can we reverse it and get it to the Gulf Coast so that we can get it out of here? So we can get it to Asia, Australia, Europe, and parts who are really in critical need for reliable, safe, clean energy, right? Now the same thing is happening in the renewable world, right? So solar is wonderful, and hydro is wonderful, and wind is wonderful, but those things in and of themselves, where we're at right now, they aren't up to the challenges of a constantly growing energy population around the world, right? So that's where gas compression, natural gas engines, things like that fit in, but then also in the technology that's being advanced. Look at hydrogen, right? So hydrogen is just completely taking off. We've got in our magazine, we started doing a monthly report called the Hydrogen Report. And honestly, we can't keep up with all of the developments and all the products and all the things that are coming to market. And that's a great opportunity for gas compression. So I look at this as, we're not to be over dramatic or whatever, but, it's like the dawn of a new era for this industry. And companies and people who are willing to accept it and embrace it and see what they can do to be part of the solution are really going to excel and prosper and benefit from all of this and apply solutions, help solve the problem, because it is a problem, right? Global warming is real, and things are happening in the environment that are a result of the human population being here. But we're getting smarter. We know what these things are, and we know how to fix them. And gas compression is a key component in meeting those goals.
So who are the people, when you say, people are panicking, change is a 4-letter word, back when LNG was coming on the scene, like, who are the people that are kind of putting up like, oh, we don't want to, are you talking about like compressor manufacturers?
So I would say, honestly, I would say a lot of it's the operators, right? A lot of it's the end users, because you get into some of these pipelines and things like that, you have the old guard, right? And they're looking toward retirement. So it's like, I've been the chief mechanic for XYZ PDQ pipeline, and I've been responsible for these units, for these machines for 20 plus years. And I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't need to go in here and switch technology. I don't need to put in a new filtration system. I don't need to put in a new valves. I don't want to upset anything, because I'm so close to being to the end, right? So that's number one. Number two, you've got purchasing people, and you've got people who are, let's say, like in the front office in the executive positions, where at the end of the day, we've got to satisfy shareholders. So if we come in here and we suddenly start changing and start putting in this new technology, is it proven? We don't know. We don't want to be the guinea pig for it. So let's let somebody else prove this technology and see that it works. Well, then you just have this constant, I don't want to be the first. I don't want to be the first. I don't want to be the first. And then you have the OEMs, the compressor manufacturers, the valve manufacturers, even some of the aftermarket people and things like that, who are really at the front and pushing this new technology. They're banging their heads against the wall, because it's like, we've proven this. This does work. Now let's put it on 10 units in your system, 20 units in your system, things like that. So you've got a mindset. You got two problems, in my opinion. One is, the executives who, okay, I gotta answer to the shareholder, so we don't want to implement change because it might disrupt something. And then you got the people who are like, this is going to be somebody else's problem. We'll let the next generation come in and implement this new change, because I got 6 months. And if it doesn't work, I don't want to be punished. I don't want to be, that kind of thing. So,
speaking of the next generation, what do you see in terms of the industry's effort to pull in the next generation? I know, specifically, I'm talking in our industry in the Panhandle, it's natural gas, and I know there's I can't remember the town, starts with an O, in Oklahoma, that has the Oklahoma State. I think it's a natural gas compressor.
Okmulgee.
Oh gosh, I could think it, but I couldn't say it. Okmulgee.
Yep.
So
the compressor short course. Yep.
Yeah, that's going to say compressor short course. What else is the industry doing? Because that's my little neck of the woods. But you have a global perspective almost. What are other places in the country, other countries, other places doing to recruit that next generation?
Sure. So one of the things that's happening, one thing that's very exciting is the industry as a whole has realized that it's hard to find new talent coming in, right? Let's face it, this is not the sexiest industry in the world, right? When you see young men and women coming out of college with engineering, they want to get into automotive. They want to get into, look at the space race. The billionaire space race is happening right now. How can I be a part of making this whatever? Look, oil and gas, it's not sexy, but it's lucrative. You've got these mechanics, you've got operators, you've got engineers. They can make a very good living, and I would even argue kind of a better living than they can in other, let's say, trade and industrial and whatever. But what's happening is people are realizing that we've got to do something to get people into this industry, because we're competing against the glitz and the glam and the flash of some of these sexier industries, if you will, right? So we're seeing OEMs in particular are investing in their communities at a local level, right? So I'm working on a story right now, Midland College. So Archrock just donated some equipment to Midland College. And not only have they invested, donated the equipment, they are assisting in training and teaching, right? So you have colleges and training programs that have limited resources. So there are companies who are stepping in and saying, let us partner with you, not only in we can provide you with equipment, but if you're interested, we can help you. We can have our training people either come to you and talk to your students, or come to us. Look at what Ariel's done, for example. Ariel has built this magnificent training facility on their campus in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and they're bringing people in from end users and customers and things like that, where it's an opportunity for them to put people in a position where they can touch the equipment, where they can actually see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, and then have the operators and their trainers be there to help train these people. And we're seeing that all over the world. It's not just in the US, we hear it more because this is here in our backyard, but companies like Newman and Esser and Burkhardt and a lot of the OEMs, they are investing directly into their communities and getting creative about it, from donating equipment to lunch and learns and things like that, going to colleges and training programs, really a recruiting program, if you will, to show people this is what we are, this is how it works, and then investing in the organizations that teach the future mechanics and operators and engineers who will make this industry grow.
Do you see that also in the, the repair side of life, like where we are, in the support of, so you got the Archrocs and the Aerials and those guys, but also on the support side, the people repairing the stuff, the people that are helping service the natural gas. Is there also that going on? Because
yes,
that's a big problem for us too.
That is a big problem, and yes, there's absolutely that. So that was one of the conversations. That's with Midland College and with Archrock, with the article that'll be coming out here in the next couple of months. That's one of the things they talked about too. Is they are creating basically a mechanic program where this is an opportunity. Again, you're going in and some of these colleges have like diesel engine mechanic programs, right? So it's like you can go in and everybody kind of not everybody, I'm kind of overgeneralizing, but a lot of people, they think, all right, I'm going to get into, the Class 8 trucking environment, and work at a shop where I'm fixing big engines used in making things move, right? Well, here now, again, Midland College, and certainly there are others, Okmulgee for what they're doing and things like that. There are the programs designed to teach young people, this is how an engine is an engine. At its core, this is what it's doing. It's a piece of rotating equipment. You can work on it and it makes this truck move, it makes this train move. You can also do it where it makes this compressor move, it makes this generator move, makes things like that. There's often more stability and more income when you're dealing in the oil and gas realm. So definitely seeing that as well.
Talk to me about emissions. That was one thing that Norm was, I think Norm, we did a 2-part thing, and his biggest, I guess, rally cry was emissions and getting this place. You mentioned a little bit about, the environment and getting emissions where they need to be. Where are we and where are we headed with, the zero emissions capturing? I can't remember the term, but it's, these companies that are basically
like the carbon capture and things like that. And Yep. So there's certainly progress to be made, but we are making steps in the right direction, right? Some of it is being forced by regulatory oversight and things like that. Not only in the US, but throughout Europe and all parts of the world. Governments are insisting, hey, these compressor stations, these sites, they have to run cleaner, they have to run more efficient. But also there are companies at the front of the pack, right, who are, all right, we have this where we can run this smarter, better, faster because technology has come along that we can improve emissions, right? And it is, at the end of the day, natural gas is a clean energy solution. And there's ways that we can limit and reduce the fugitive emissions that are coming at these compressor sites and different operating places. So definitely is a major priority, major concern for the industry. It is certainly being tackled and addressed from what we've seen. And then also, with governments and you look at CARB and you look at some of the other, the Dallas, like the Fort Worth County, stuff like that, their emissions requirements are more stringent than the EPA, but certainly companies and mechanics and aftermarket things are not even waiting for that to happen. They're just kind of coming in and like, okay, this is what we can do and how we can fix it.
I love the positivity. When I asked you about earlier, you said, I can't remember how you put it, that this is we're at a strong place in the natural gas industry.
Yeah.
So, what are the biggest opportunities going forward? I know not just natural gas and there's hydrogen, but what are some of the biggest opportunities that hopefully the, you know, people in our industry, whether they're compressor manufacturers or the third-party people or whoever, mechanics, operators, what are the biggest opportunities that need to be seized in the next 5 to 10 years in the industry?
Certainly emissions related, right? Because that's not going away, right? So running things cleaner. I would say ultimately listening to the end user, right? What are their pain points? What are their needs? Because it ends up being different based on the application. So there are opportunities there, people who are in a position to act upon what the end user needs. I need to run tighter. I need to run more efficient. I need to move more gas, things like that. We have the technology, right? There are very smart women and men in this industry who are continually pushing the envelope, pushing technology, making things run smarter, better, faster, et cetera. There's opportunity there if companies continue to listen to the end user and do what they can to meet their needs, because their needs are always changing, right? And also I want to add to that, staying ahead of what their customer might need, because some people don't know what they need until something terrible's happened, right? At the end of the day, there's two kinds of compressors, right? There's compressors that have gone down and there's compressors that will go down. That's it. That's it. There's only two kinds of compressors. I don't care, your recips, your centrifugals, blah, blah, doesn't matter, right? Compressors that have gone down and compressors that will. And it's a bad day when compressors go down unexpectedly, right? So that's the challenge of the industry right now is how do we limit downtime? How do we limit exposure? How do we limit pain points to the end user and the customer, right? So there's companies that are out there that are developing remote monitoring and things where they can do predictive analytics and let's do predictive maintenance. That's great. We need to keep doing that. So I think I'm kind of talking around your question of what opportunities, because there are a lot of opportunities, right? There's the big ones, there's the LNG and there's, running cleaner, there's hydrogen. Yep, there's things like that. Getting into CNG. CNG is a big opportunity because that's growing in the US, right? Europe and Middle East and things like that, that's huge. You're seeing more of that taking place now here in the US and things are coming to market. So those are big opportunities as well. So.
Speaking of CNG, do you ever see when you say that's huge in Asia, I mean, do they have the infrastructure there? Like we have a gas station on every corner, they got CNG stations and
so yeah. So one of the things, so I getting back to like the beginning of the conversation where I've been to some really incredible places in the world, right? I've been throughout South America, for example, and I tell people, like, I'll give you $1 for every suitcase you can put in the trunk of a vehicle in South America because it's got a CNG tank in it. You have to put it in the back seat. I found that, now granted, we're talking major city centers and major populations throughout Asia. That's the same kind of thing where it's like, okay, you show up with an Uber or a taxi or something in an airport, and you're not putting it in the trunk. That suitcase is sitting right next to you. So definitely the infrastructure is there. They really are taking advantage of centrally locating their refueling stations so that they can adopt this into their fleets and into even some personal vehicles and things like that.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people in our area in Texas Panhandle, and it would be a 3/4 ton long bed truck with these two huge tanks in it that you can't put anything else in. And we don't really have any stations around here. I think there's one in Amarillo.
Yeah.
So is that coming around? Or are people still talking about doing that in the States?
So definitely it's coming around, because if you look at major city centers, right? So like here in Houston, for example, so Friday is the trash day here in front of my house, and it's trash and recycling, and each vehicle that comes down is like powered by CNG. So what's happening is municipalities are investing in the CNG infrastructure and technology, but it's privatized for lack of a better word, right? Yeah. So you have like Waste Management is one of the big, waste handling companies here in the US and probably even in the world. they are investing in the infrastructure so that they can run their fleets on natural gas. Now, will that ever end up being in a consumer realm where I can get a CNG vehicle? That's the question, because right now you've got electric vehicles, right? Everybody, ooh, Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. I think that's going to be where it's going to go on the consumer side, but in the industrial side, definitely CNG is going to take the lion's share of the market because of batteries, because of the way buses and short haul vehicles and taxis and garbage trucks, the way they operate, the way they move. It's certainly a better fit and a better opportunity for natural gas.
That's a good point. And also, most of these power plants making electricity are going to use natural gas as their feedstock anyway.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So it's there, right? So the gas is there. So one of the things that the U.S. has no shortage of gas, right? And so finding smart ways to use this gas is an opportunity, right? So you've got, certainly the power generation, cogen facilities, and you have the renewables working in tandem with natural gas. That presents a big opportunity. But now getting into CNG and some of the other opportunities that other countries have really gone ahead and moved ahead in the US, we can certainly, those are opportunities here. Exactly what you said. Right now, the infrastructure is not set up. The farther you get away from major city centers, the harder it is to find a natural gas fueling center for a long haul truck or a bus or something like that.
So what's next and coming up for your magazine, for what you're doing? Are there any upcoming books that we need to know about? That's after Norm's book, or what?
Yeah. So we were very blessed during the downturn and all that. We didn't let anybody go, so we kept our entire staff is here, and we were able to, without trade shows and without all the things that really pull us in 100 different directions at a time, we were able to sit down and kind of let's plot out what we want to do. We've had a lot of ideas and we haven't had the time to execute them. So the last 18 months, we've been able to put things into action, right? So we had Norm's book come out. We launched, we call it the Resource Center. So it's on our website. It's technical papers. Norm has a series of articles that he's writing for the magazine called What Went Wrong.
He told me about that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. I love that.
So you'll be able to read. So that started, I think, 2 issues ago. We started those, but now what we're doing is we're housing those on the Resource Center, right? So that's going to be a place where it's more in-depth, meaty stuff. So we have that going. We're super excited. We have Kane's Rotating Machinery Dictionary. So Robert Perez, he edited this, he curated this, worked with people in the industry to create this dictionary, and we published it probably 3 years ago. And now we have an online companion, which is a fully searchable database of rotating machinery terms and technologies. And it's got hand-drawn illustrations and things like that. And then coming ahead, I mean, we've got more things in the digital side that we're doing, databases and reports and annual surveys and market surveys. And we've got 2 books teed up, ready to go. That'll probably be coming out in 2022. So yeah, we're super excited. We kind of all agreed, as now trade shows are getting ready to come back. It's like, let's take the rest of the year and not bring anything new. Let's just digest what we did. We also launched another magazine, right? So we have, with Gas Compression Magazine, it comes out monthly and it's available print and digital, but we also have a publication now that we started called ESG Review, where we're looking at ESG technology, and it comes out with Gas Compression Magazine quarterly, but then there's also a website that we update weekly, right? So we launched a weekly, basically a weekly title, quarterly title. We launched a book, we launched 2 databases. Spanish Gas Compression Magazine is growing and just blossoming, and we have a dedicated website to that now. So we've got a lot going on, man. It's really exciting. It's really, really exciting.
It is. I feel like I'm, for everyone listening, I just want to make sure that you are following what is going on at Gas Compression Magazine and Third Coast Publishing. And I'm trying to tell stories and interview and get some people out there talking about what we're doing. But you guys are really blazing a trail in this industry, and super thankful and happy that you're doing that.
Well, I
On behalf of
appreciate
everybody.
that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
One question though, before we go, trade shows.
Yep.
What trade show? I mean, that's kind of, COVID was like nothing's going on. So I know there was one local one in Little Kansas that shut down just due to the lack of, what the problem was companies, a lot of midstream companies just would not pay for their people to go, and the vendor, blah, blah, blah. So for everyone out there listening, what are the trade shows that we need to be aware of either at the end of this year or coming next year?
Okay, so great question. There are a lot of really great trade shows and technical conferences out there that are directly related to the gas compression industry, right? So coming up, what we have that we are going to, boots on the ground, we have a booth, we have everything. We have the Gas Compressor Association conference is in August. That's in Galveston. We're hitting that one. The gas GPA, so Gas Processors Association, is going to be in San Antonio. That's in September as well. Eastern Gas Compression Roundtable is in Pittsburgh. That is also in September. EFRC is European Forum of Reciprocating Compressor. That is in Poland. That's also in September. We've got a very busy September coming up. Getting into October, we've got GMRC, the Gas Machinery Research Council's, GMRC conference, which is really, it's the big one. So we'll be there. Turbo Machinery International, that's in Houston. OTC is coming up in Houston. You've got the Permian Show in Midland, Odessa coming up. There's used to be called like the Calgary Oil and Gas Show, but I think it's now called like the Global Energy Show. They changed that. I think this year, last year, changed the name for it. That's coming up in September. So though there's no shortage of opportunity to have in-person learning, training, and just experience coming up soon.
That is great. And I'm sure, tell everyone where they can find you, get subscribed to the magazine, get it delivered to their inbox, all that stuff.
Yeah, so best place is start the website, gascompressionmagazine.com. We're on all the social medias as well. So, I mean, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you get your news, you can find us, right? But so best place is gascompressionmagazine.com. You can see everything that we're doing. You can sign up. It's free to subscribe, free to renew. And you can pick how you want it delivered, print, digital, or both. And yeah, so that's the best way to find us.
All right. Well, on behalf of everyone, thank you for all that you're doing, pioneering, publishing, getting the word out. And man, you're just doing a great job, Brent.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, I look forward to tuning into future podcasts. I love what you're doing because you're bringing the audible story. You know what I mean? So we bring like the written word, and you're bringing the audible story. And so no, I appreciate what you're doing. And yeah, I'm very excited. I'm honored to be invited on the show. So
awesome. Well, thanks, and we'll talk soon.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Take care. And yeah, adios.
Adios.